Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Schulz. Today we have another Hans Christian Andersen tale, and this is one of those tales that Hans Christian Andersen does so well, where he explains the point of view of one of God's smaller creatures in a way that, quite frankly, makes you feel guilty. This is the Greenies. A rose tree stood in the window. But a little while ago it had been green and fresh, and now it looked sickly. It was in poor health, no doubt. A whole regiment was quartered on it, and was eating it up, yet, notwithstanding this seeming greediness, the regiment was a very decent and respectable one. It wore bright green uniforms. I spoke to one of the Greenies. He was but 3 days old, and yet he was already a grandfather. What do you think he said? It is all true. He spoke of himself and the rest of the regiment. Listen. "We are the most wonderful creatures in the world. At a very early age we are engaged, and immediately we have the wedding. When the cold weather comes we lay our eggs, but the little ones lie sunny and warm. The wisest of the creatures, the ant, we have the greatest respect for him, understands us well. He appreciates us, you may be sure. He does not eat us up at once. He takes our eggs, lays them in the family anthill on the ground floor, lays them, labeled and numbered, side by side, layer on layer, so that each day a new one may creep out of the egg. Then he puts us in a stable, pinches our hind legs, and milks us till we die. He has given us the prettiest of names, Little Milch Cow. All creatures who, like the ant, are gifted with common sense call us by this pretty name. It is only the humans who do not. They give us another name, one that we feel to be a great affront, great enough to embitter our whole life. Could you not write a protest against it for us? Could you not rouse these human beings to a sense of the wrong they do us? They look at us so stupidly, or at times with such envious eyes, just because we eat a rose leaf, while they themselves eat every created thing, whatever grows and is green. Oh, and they give us the most humiliating of names. I will not even mention it. Ugh! I feel it to my very stomach. I cannot even pronounce it, at least not when I have my uniform on, and that I always wear. I was born on a rose leaf. I and all the regiment live on the rose tree. We live off it, in fact. But then it lives again in us, one who belong to the higher order of created beings. The human beings do not like us. They pursue and murder us with soap suds. Oh, it is a horrid drink. I seem to smell it even now. You cannot think how dreadful it is to be washed when one is not made to be washed. Men, you who look at us with your severe soap-sud eyes, think a moment what our place in nature is. We are born upon the roses. We die in roses. Our whole life is a rose poem. Do not, I beg you, give us a name which you yourselves think so despicable, the name I cannot bear to pronounce. If you wish to speak of us, call us the Ants' Milch Cows, the Rose Tree Regiment, the Little Green Things. And I, the man, looking at the tree and the little Greenies, whose name I shall not mention, for I should not like to wound the feelings of the citizens of the Rose Tree. A large family, with eggs and young ones. And I looked at the soap suds I was going to wash them in, for I, too, had come with soap and water and murderous intentions. But now I will use it for soap bubbles. Look how beautiful. Perhaps there lies in each a fairy tale, and the bubble grows large and radiant and looks as if there were a pearl lying inside it. The bubble swayed and swung. It flew to the door and then burst. But the door opened wide, and there stood Dame Fairytale herself. And now, she will tell you better than I can about, I will not say the name, the little green things of the rosebush. "Plant lice," said Dame Fairytale. "One must call things by their right names, and if one may not do so always, one must at least have the privilege of doing so in the fairy tale." And that is Hans Christian Andersen's The Greenies. And again, in a way that Hans Christian Andersen so often does, he gives voice to the smallest of God's creatures, and one that makes you feel a little bad, a little guilty, about wanting to kill off those small creatures. This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And don't forget that the entire month of July is voting at the Podcast Awards. You head over to podcastawards.com, you can find the Folktale Project in the Arts section. And as always, thank you so much for listening.